So next up here is Emeka Okoye is going to talk about the ethics and the implication of knowledge graphs and graphs technologies. So thanks, Emeka. Thanks.
Hi, thank you. I'm honored to be here. Sorry, I missed my slot. This whole conference is an amazing maze. I'm here to talk about the ethics and implication of knowledge graph and semantic web technologies. We now in the generative AI era, and there are so many things we need to take into consideration as we embrace this new period and new technologies. A simple description of what I do: I'm just a knowledge engineer. I help organizations exploit their data and information assets for them to simulate human-like thinking, which some people call artificial intelligence, so that they can achieve their objectives. Especially those embarking on digital transformation journey, or those that want some form of data centricity. We're going to talk about briefly talk about the situation analysis of what's going on. I explain what a knowledge graph is, and we'll talk about ethics in society and ethics in data, and then we'll kind of like sum it up, why we have to take these things very seriously. And then I'll explain what artificial intelligence really means, and then we conclude. I hope I could do it in 25 minutes. All right, so the use of cognitive technology has become widespread today, and AI ethics has become a pressing concern, and transparency is a central issue when it comes to ethics. In fact, transparency and explainability is a major issue. You want to understand how the AI arrived at its answers. Transparency and explainability are fundamental in building and implementing cognitive technologies. I mean, if we don't have this in the center of our generative AI, then the society becomes threatened. So that's why it's important. And it's important, especially when we intend to augment our knowledge and transform the knowledge out there for subject matter experts to work with. And again, the motivation on making transparency a serious matter is not only to improve AI, but also to reduce harm, comply with regulation to make sure we fit in, with laws, foster trust, and support dialogue and participation, and also further the principles of democracy and openness. Most organizations, now understand the importance of digital capabilities and digital transformation to work in today's economy. So the world is flooded with data because we are trying to exploit it. And this data is creating so much risk for us. So the question we should ask ourselves is whether we apply the best practice in governance of this data so as to reduce the risk. Are we doing enough analytics, to cover the risk? The truth of the matter, the answer is no. Because most organizations don't even take data governance seriously, or they're not trying to mitigate the risk associated in this, their digital transformation journey. So it's a big problem. So you can see that the initial surge of excitement with ChatGPT and the whole LLM is waning down because of, so much hallucination and all other forms of risk. So these are very big issues, and you've heard a lot of ethics experts, emphasize so much about this. So it's something that we really need to take seriously. Yeah. The language models that we have is a prediction engine. It's not an AI tool. It's simply a prediction engine. It just predicts the next word. And it predicts words without it understanding the meaning. That's why it's called hallucination, because it doesn't know what is given to you. So do we build our societies based on this prediction engine? So this is why ethics is very important and why we are discussing this topic today. So it's crucial. Now, you'll all notice that in the same sentence that language models are being talked about, knowledge graphs are being talked about. Why? All of a sudden, knowledge graph has been there. I've been doing knowledge graph for the past 12 years. So why all of a sudden knowledge graph is now at the forefront in the discussion of solving this AI risk? So we're going to talk about that. Knowledge graphs are gaining interest because they are very relevant to AI. Now, the question most people need to ask is, what exactly is AI? That's where a lot of us have not really spent time on, to know what intelligence means, So, but knowledge graph does one thing, is that it provides what we call structured and interconnected representation of knowledge. It provides knowledge to machine learning, deep learning like large language models, so that it will improve their outcome. Now, bringing knowledge graph and machine learning technology is improving the accuracy of the outcomes, augmenting the potential of machine learning and deep learning approaches. That's been missing. Everybody's quick to create new stuff and call it intelligence. But they forget that intelligence is derived from knowledge. So we now live in the generative AI era, and generative AI models have been trained on volumes of data. That's what we keep hearing, using deep learning or deep neural networks. So they can carry on conversations, write stories, answer questions, reproduce source code, create images, create videos by just simply giving it a text, But despite all this potential, immense potential of the language models, it comes with a range of challenges. We already know hallucination. But a major one is the high cost associated with scaling and the complexity of updating them. It's expensive. And it also affects the environment. And the funny thing, worst of them all, we can't even do an audit of it. So a bad actor can actually create a large language model with bad data for bad intent. Who is going to protect us? This is why this topic is very important. So we have to make sure that ethics is taken seriously. So due to the lack of contextual information and knowledge, AI systems have not been able to achieve full potential of, as a reliable solution to our problems, So let me start on talking about the solutions. So first, we'll talk about semantic technology. Semantic technology's goal, only one goal, is just to help machines understand data. That's what semantic technology is. Semantic technology has been about AI since the day it first came out. Some of you might not know, the web, as you saw it today, was built with semantic technology from day one. All you need to go and look at the document created by Tim Berners-Lee. It's semantic technology, you see it. But we're in a hurry. So the day one of the World Wide Web was actually AI with semantic technology. And semantic technology makes machines understand data. It enables encoding of semantics. Semantics means meaning. Meaning. Semantics means meaning. So it helps in encoding the meaning with data. That's the difference. Plain data doesn't have any meaning. How do you expect the machines to make meaning out of a data that doesn't have meaning? So that's the root of hallucination that you are seeing. So now when the problems now started coming out from language models, everybody now remembered, oh, there is a tool that actually makes machine understand data. So semantic technology has, a lot of technologies. You have the resource development framework, which is a language, an abstract language, where you can ascribe meaning to data. So all these technologies, we can't go deep into semantic. It's beyond this topic. But all these semantic technologies represents meaning for all kinds of information. Ontology, one of the technology, ontology, can be used to describe concepts, relationships between things and categories of things. Ontology is a way of how our mind works. Ontology is used to describe everything that exists in this world. The things you can touch, the things you can't touch, the things you can think about, everything. So you can actually encode abstract things for the computer to understand. So what is knowledge graph now? Knowledge graph organizes and represents knowledge as a graph. Actually, the way your mind works. Everything is connected to one another. There's a connection, there's a relationship. Everything you see, everything our eyes and our minds see has to do with relationships. This is connected to this is connected to this is from here. So there's some form of relationship. So that's what a knowledge graph does. It's a network of nodes, and those nodes could be anything. Tangibles, intangibles, And written in both human and machine readable form. Yes, that's quite interesting. This network of things could be data sets, it could be documents, it could be people, it could be cities, it could be chair, it could be conference, it could be speakers, it could be anything. Because you are trying to tell the machine what this thing is and what it's all about. That's what a knowledge graph is. Relationships are first-class citizens, and they are represented in graph structures. A knowledge graph acquires and integrates information into an ontology. So ontology is what describes this thing in the real world. So like I said, ontology the funny thing, ontology is not even technology, it's philosophy. Ontology is philosophy. Ontology is the study of what exists. We all need to understand that AI is just underpinning liberal arts. Everything about AI has to do with liberal arts. And semantic technology is no different. Semantic technology is actually what we call computational linguistics. So it's linguistics that is computational. So we are still talking about arts. And the things about intelligence is about us, humans. So what knowledge graph does is to acquire new knowledge, integrate information, and apply what we call a reasoner. A reasoner is reasoning. So human reasoning, you can reason the way humans reason in a knowledge graph to create new knowledge, to create new understanding. That's what's been missing. That's why knowledge graph is hot today. Knowledge graph has been in existence since forever. So the basic information you get in a knowledge graph is a fact. Why? Because I told you that ontology is about what exists in the real world. So that means it's a fact. What you are describing is how that thing exists in this world. So the most basic information is a fact. Now we are getting somewhere. Fact. This is not somebody's truth. This is fact. So the fundamental of knowledge graph is fact. We need to understand it. So facts can be represented in what we call triples or triplets. Subject, predicate, object. So this is linguistics now. Linguistic. Most languages can be described in this form. Subject, predicate, object. Like we have one that you can see on the board. Bob is interested in Mona Lisa. So Bob is the subject, is interested in is the predicate, and the Mona Lisa is the object. If we put this in triples, machines understand this. They know Bob. We have to define Bob as a person, and we have to define Mona Lisa as a picture. But it's just to give you an idea what happens in a knowledge graph. So knowledge graphs are full of facts. So one of the things important about knowledge graphs is it supports heterogeneous data. It supports different types of data. You can mix and match different kinds of data. So it's not so much about the schema. So you can actually mix a data of cars with a data of persons. Because that's how our mind is. We are not saying, oh, my mind doesn't take this kind of data. No, we take every data we see and make sense out of it. So, oh. Okay, so what is ethics? Ethics is the branch of philosophy that deals with questions about what is morally right or wrong, and how individuals and society should make decisions about what is good or bad behavior. Lack of ethics can lead to various negative consequences, such as dishonesty, corruption, discrimination, and harm to individuals or society as a whole. It can erode trust and integrity, and it can damage relationships and undermine the credibility of individuals, organizations, and institutions. So, and even lack of ethics in business manifests in different things like, fraud, discrimination, environmental violation, insider trading, and all that. But in data on AI, why is it important? It refers to the study, implementation of ethical principles and guidelines in the development and use of artificial intelligence systems. Lack of ethics in data is a significant threat for various reasons. We know privacy invasion, when data is collected without ethical consideration, it often leads to invasion of individuals' privacy. We have discrimination and bias, which is a very big deal. Unethical data practice can perpetuate bias and discrimination. Misinformation and manipulation, we're already seeing that today. Security risk, when data is not being handled ethically. Legal and regulatory consequences, not following the laws, loss of trust. There's so much. Then there's the economic impact, because it has economic consequences. In summary, lack of ethics in data poses a multifaceted threat that encompasses privacy invasion, discrimination, and all these ethical data practices are very essential, for this. So why is all this very important? It's because we need to follow these standards to make sure that the output that is coming out from our AI systems doesn't pose a threat for us. In knowledge graph, this can be done easily, very easily. Like data privacy, for instance. Data integrates from different diverse sources. I talked about heterogeneous data. And we can start implementing ethical behavior from that point. Because if not, bias and, and unethical standards start getting introduced into the system. The same thing we could say, about cultural sensitivity. So the reason why another strong point, knowledge graph is very important, is because provenance is embedded in knowledge graph. So when we say provenance, we talk about, being accountable for the origin and history of data, which is essential for ensuring trust, accountability, and ethical usage. So provenance is embedded in it, that we can actually track how this data and knowledge, where it comes from. And we can, be sure of the output of this system in supporting generative AI solutions. So I'm almost... So one of the best practices in using provenance in knowledge graph is using things like metadata, version control, and what we call transitive provenance to monitor how data is being used to build generative AI systems. We can trace source, we can trace the reason why. Now, it's easy now to understand why a solution of knowledge graph and language models will develop a better AI output. As you all know, a knowledge graph is an interconnected data set enriched with meaning. Knowledge graph lends itself to advanced analytics because it connects everything you have on a topic, which could lead you to new discoveries. So it will help machines, not when it reasons, it will help machines get new facts, get understanding. Now, one thing I need to point out here is, and which a lot of people don't talk about, is that these deep learning models reason with what we call induction reasoning. Induction reasoning is based on the data in front of me. I can make a generalization. But humans use deduction and abduction because we have how it works in the world. Remember, an ontology is what you use to describe what exists in the world. So you'll find out that language models are actually not based on deductions, which is very important. That's what knowledge graph brings to the table. So not only do you reason well with a language model or whatever machine learning tool, you also capture the meaning. You now understand the meaning because it's encoded in the data. So you see, it now begins to make sense why everybody is telling you need knowledge graph to solve a lot of problems coming out from language models. Again, even without language models, if you don't have knowledge graph in your organization, better start thinking of having one. It's the best database you can think of right now. It can solve all problems. So you need semantics, which means you also need context. One of the good things knowledge graph does is that it brings context. It brings semantics. It brings provenance. That means it brings explainability to AI systems. It brings transparency to AI systems. We keep hearing about the data being used, but you don't see it. You can't view it. You can't audit it. Knowledge graphs does that. And we need to start taking knowledge graph as an important data asset in our organization, in our country, in our cities, in our institutions. So in conclusion, language models have immense potential, but also major shortcomings. It's becoming increasingly clear that by training an LLM on a knowledge graph curated, highly structured, highly quality data, the gamut of challenges associated with language models will be addressed. Thank you.
Thanks, Emeka. I think we don't have enough time for questions.
Okay.
So I'm gonna, maybe you can reach Emeka around. I think you're gonna be around, right? Yes. So if you have any question, please reach him out